people have this picture of what change making looks like to them. For some, it's fixing the broken systems that we're living in. For others, it's calling shit out and shining a light on injustice. Others want to dream bigger beyond the solutions that we see before us today. And still, others are passionate about building bridges to the future without ignoring the people existing within the reality that we know now. And everyone is convinced that their way is the best way. And they're all wrong. And they're all right. Welcome to Marketing Muckraking, the show that asks not simply what brand culture can do for us, but what it's doing to us. With your host, creative director, and brand strategist gone wild, Rachael Albers, making fun of business and making business fun. This is the show for rebels, revolutionaries, and renegades who run businesses that burn the rulebook. If you're sick of business podcasts that have all the answers, well, I got nothing but questions. Let's go. Episode 14. There are 4 people who will change the world. Which one are you? I talk a lot about burning shit down, and I have gotten plenty of heat for it. During free school, the negative feedback I heard most through the grapevine was, I'm sick of hearing Rachael complain. When is RKA going to talk about the solution? But that is not my job. Not because I don't want to focus on solutions or because I'm shirking responsibility, but because it is not the best use of my brilliance. Last weekend, I hosted a client who is making tremendous change in the world. We spent 2 amazing days visioning and planning the future of her business, which is her tool for helping to create the solutions she clearly sees that her community needs. Sure, she's got a fire starter within her. We all do. But her role is less about burning shit down and more about holding a vision for the way things can and should be, building a bridge towards the future and taking people by the hand and helping them across that bridge. You should check her out. Her name is Ebony Beckford, and she works with kids to educate about financial literacy, as well as their parents, moms specifically, around nurturing a culture of generational wealth in communities of color. Keep your eye on her because she has got big things in store. I grabbed her money box last year for my 4-year-old, and she loves it as a way of learning about saving and spending and how to use money as a tool. We use her coloring book, Madison's First Dollar, all the time, and Alice was so jealous that I got to meet Madison's mommy. Ebony and I talked a lot about what it takes to use our businesses and platforms to promote and support change. And in these conversations, she helped me see my role in change making and why it's not explicitly about giving people a play-by-play of the solutions. Because I believe my audience has the solutions they seek inside them and that those answers need to be pursued within the collective, not only as individuals. And that my role is more about defining exactly what we need to burn down and the questions to pursue to help us define the solutions to our problems. This led me to understand what I believe are the 4 types of people making change in the world today. And I wanted to share them with you to see if this resonates and where you see yourself in that change. The 4 types of change makers are the compassionate reformer, the revolutionary fire starter, the visionary innovator, and the luminary bridge builder. So let's dig into these. Number 1, the compassionate reformer knows that we must make change, but also understands that people need to find ways to live well within our current systems of oppression. Their role is to reform the systems from within, to alleviate suffering within the frameworks we are forced to operate within. They are the change makers who fight to make companies more inclusive, lift up diverse voices, speak truth to power, and demand that we make things better now, not one day far in the future. They aren't willing to wait for a better world to be built. They care about the people who make the wheels turn in our current system and ensuring everyone has the best life they possibly can have today. 2, the revolutionary fire starter, that's me, is focused on critiquing what we need to burn down next, which elements of the system are harming us and why, and explicitly naming the systemic oppressions that are holding humanity back. Our role is to torch the bridges that need to be burned, to dig deep into the historical patterns that brought us here, and to clear the path for our fellow changemakers to do the work that needs to be done so we can live more sustainably, and find more meaning in our lives long term. We aren't as focused on prescribing the solutions as we are about naming the problem. But the fires that we set are lights that help the solutions become more clear to our collaborators. 3, the visionary innovator has a big, bold vision of the future beyond what we are living in now. They see what is possible and are brave and unabashed in painting the picture of the world we can step into together. Their role is to dream bigger and push us further than we ever imagined. They may look like idealists because their vision is so far beyond the box that the status quo wants us to think inside, but they are passionate realists about the type of solutions we really need for all of us to live in harmony on the planet. They aren't held back by impossibilities. They are led by their wildest dreams, and they know that our world is capable of so much more than what we have today. 4, the luminary bridge builder, that's Ebony, brings all the types of change making together, not only to set fire to old paradigms, but build bridges towards a better world. Then they take us by the hand and lead us towards the change, knowing that the next generation will craft the new world, but that we need a path to take us there. Their role is to meet us where we're at today, help us understand that we can't stay fixed in place if we want something better. So with fierce love and bold vision, they take us by the hand and lead us towards the change we seek, reminding us that we are not in this alone and that no single one of us is tasked with building this future on our own. Of course, we all have a reformer, a fire starter, an innovator, and a bridge builder within us. But knowing our core strengths and where we can best position ourselves as we fight for a better world will help us get out of our own way and actually make shit happen. If I didn't embrace my role as the revolutionary fire starter and instead had listened to my detractors who insisted I was wrong because I wasn't focused on the solution first and foremost, I wouldn't be able to step into my purpose and do the work I am meant to do in the world. Yeah, I have ideas about the solutions that we seek, but someone's got to burn shit down. Someone has to be willing to name what's wrong without mincing words. And that's me. By the way, this is what I wrote about in my essay, If Capitalism Can't Solve It, What Will? And what Anand Giridharadas describes in his book, Winners Take All, regarding the thought leader, the reformer, and the critic, the fire starter. I'm not avoiding the solutions, but instead of focusing my time and energy on crafting them, I am always looking for collaborators who are just as passionate about reforming, innovating, and bridge building as I am about fire starting. I can't do this alone. We need all hands on deck, and we need all types of change makers. Which one are you? To help you figure out which of the 4 change maker types most aligns with your strengths, that's why I created a quiz. You can go right now to changemakerquiz.com to figure out, are you a reformer, a fire starter, a visionary, or a bridge builder? I am super excited about this quiz because most people have this picture of what change making looks like to them. For some, it's fixing the broken systems that we're living in. For others, it's calling shit out and shining a light on injustice. Others want to dream bigger beyond the solutions that we see before us today. And still, others are passionate about building bridges to the future without ignoring the people existing within the reality that we know now. And everyone is convinced that their way is the best way. And they're all wrong. And they're all right. Making this episode, making this quiz, helped me see more clearly there are 4 types. Maybe there are more. You can tell me, drop me an email, let me know what I'm missing. 4 types of people that will change the world. And we need all of them. Fire starters like me often want to dismiss the important work of reform. Until I started looking at change through the lens of what I discussed on today's show, I struggled with my own anger and frustration at what I saw as an incomplete approach to change. And that was my privilege talking. Yeah, I still believe in revolution, but to suggest that nothing other than burning it all down will suffice is to ignore that our world needs change now, not later. Yeah, in my case, I tried the reform route. That's why I went to law school, and it nearly crushed my spirit. As a hopeful public interest lawyer, I saw a future of heartbreak that was too much for me to bear. So during law school, I worked at an immigration clinic, and I even successfully helped win a case to reunite a mother and her son. But despite that accomplishment and the joy of bringing a family back together again, the process of cutting through bureaucracy and red tape, which is the work of lawyers, was hard on my soul. And I spoke with many working attorneys fighting day after day against injustice from within a broken legal system. And I knew that if I took that road, it would not end well for me. So I quit law school and started a marketing company. What? Over the years, I have wondered aloud many times, how did a radical anti-capitalist end up in branding and advertising, the industry that fuels the engine of capitalism? And it wasn't until I burned it all down last year that I realized this was the place that I was meant to make change, at least for now. Because for all of the soul-crushing aspects of working in marketing, there is so much that feeds my spirit and gives me the energy to keep muckraking. My business has created a playground for my creativity to run wild and free. Before law school, I went to theater school. Surprise, surprise. And I realized then that the life of a working actor wasn't for me either. But in my business, I can be so much more than an actor. While still folding that into, I'm a writer, a speaker, a comedian, a video editor, a producer, a strategist, a designer, a researcher, a saleswoman, a coach, a collaborator, a cheerleader, a giftfluencer, and the woman of 1,000 wigs. Within capitalism, we all have to make compromises. The career question then becomes less about finding your dream job, because it likely doesn't exist, at least not without its drawbacks. Instead, it is about finding the career path that hurts the least while fueling your soul the most. And for me, it was about finding or creating a job that allowed me to make change while also making space for my spirit. For you, your career might not be where you're making change. Maybe your job makes it possible for you to make change off the clock. That's your compromise. We all have to make them. And that is what this quiz that I made is all about. How to find your way in the world as a change maker, whether it's in your job or in your community. The quiz goes into a little bit more depth about examples of change makers to help you understand how to best position yourself in the world to make the maximum impact while still staying true to yourself. But the reality is we each have all 4 change-making types inside of us. We just harness them at different times. I know many people who are reformers in their day jobs, innovators in their businesses, bridge builders with their friends, and fire starters when it comes to politics. You might express the change maker within differently in different contexts. That's the rainbow of it all. So take the quiz now, changemakerquiz.com, to help determine which of the 4 changemakers you are. And if you disagree with the results, because hey, I'm no expert, there are profiles of all of the changemakers in the results. So you can kind of pick and choose which profiles work best for you in which contexts. And I would love to hear what you think about the quiz, what you think about your results. Drop me a line and let's make change together. If you want more marketing muckraking and brand strategy gone wild, I invite you to subscribe to this show. And if you enjoyed it, leave me a review. That really helps me out. If you hated it, please send it to your enemies. They sound like good people. You can go to rachaelkalbers.com/subscribe to get these updates in your inbox. And because this show is self-sponsored, if you wanted to support my work, you can go to buymearobe.com. That's where the magic happens. In the meantime, remember, it's not the age of the niche, it's the age of the wild card bitch. See you on the internet.